let you send it then.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today's training is on Microsoft Power BI Service. This is the web application. Now, today's training is in what's called a Teams Live event. This means that you actually can pause or rewind the live stream if you would like. So if you need to step out of the room for a moment and you don't want to miss any information, you can simply pause and then resume when you come back. Please keep in mind that if you pause or rewind, you will be so many seconds or even minutes behind the actual live stream. You can turn on or off live captions as needed. And if you have questions at any point, please post them into the Q&A. Keep in mind throughout today's training that there is anywhere between a 15 to 20 delay between when I am saying something and when you hear it. So because of this delay, please be specific in your questions because of the delay, I could have moved on to a new section. Today's training is being recorded. Your organization will communicate out where to go to be able to watch this recording. My name is Kim. I will be your trainer for today. I also have with me my coworker, Annie. She will be moderating the Q&A and answering all of your questions. So here is today's agenda. I'm going to introduce you to Power BI and show you how to navigate Power BI service. Then we're going to look into connecting and collaborating, kind of playing around with some data in Power BI. And then once we get used to playing around in Power BI, then we're going to create our own report using sample data. Microsoft Power BI is a business analytics service that delivers insights for analyzing data. It can share those insights through data visualizations, which make up reports and dashboards to enable fast, informed decisions. Whether your data is a simple Microsoft Excel workbook or a collection of cloud-based and on-premise hybrid data warehouses, Power BI lets you easily connect to your data sources, visualize what's important, and share that with anyone and everyone you want. Self-service analytics reduces the complexity, cost, and security risks of multiple solutions and puts the power back in the hands of business decision makers. Reports can be shared with business stakeholders securely, and Power BI brings dashboards to anyone in your organization who needs them. Power BI has hundreds of custom visualizations, the ability to connect to tons of data sources, and capability of adding AI capabilities without deep AI knowledge. As always, Microsoft has a commitment to your data security. Sharing through Power BI service means never having to worry that having a deep connection to your data means sacrificing security. Sensitivity classifications and data loss prevention capability means keeping your data secure and compliant. The Microsoft Power Platform is comprised of 4 key products: Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. Our vision for the Power Platform started from recognizing that data is increasingly flowing from everything, and a belief that organizations that harness their data will outperform those that don't. We also recognize there aren't enough programmers, data scientists, and tech professionals to go around. So our goal was to build a platform targeting these technology experts and the millions of other frontline workers who see opportunities every day to create something better than the status quo, but have never been empowered to do anything about it. Our guiding vision is a framework allowing users to gain insights from their data on the intelligence app they build, business processes, and users with intelligent virtual agents. The Microsoft Power Platform is empowering millions of people to achieve more. Power BI consists of 3 parts: a Windows desktop application called Power BI Desktop, an online service called Power BI Service, and Power BI Mobile. How you use Power BI might depend on your role on a project or team. The Microsoft Windows Power BI Desktop application allows you to create rich interactive reports in a PowerPoint for data-like experience that can be easily published to the Power BI service to be viewed by others. The Power BI service is a software as a service application that runs on the web. While Power BI service is commonly used for consuming reports built in the Power BI desktop, it is also possible to create out-of-box reports and dashboards through the cloud. Power BI mobile apps are available for iOS and Android for end users to monitor reports no matter their location. Once we get started with Power BI, I'm going to be referring to several different building blocks. The most important are datasets, reports, and dashboards. A dataset is a collection of data that Power BI uses to create its visualizations. A report is a collection of visualizations that appear together on one or more pages. Just like any other report you might create for a sales presentation or write for a school assignment, a report in Power BI is a collection of items that are all related to each other. When you're ready to share a single page from your report or a collection of visualizations, you create a dashboard. Much like a dashboard in a car, a Power BI dashboard is a collection of visualizations from a single page that you can share with others. Often, it's a selected group of individuals to provide quick insight that helps provide quick insight into your data or story that you're trying to present or tell them. All right, enough of this PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and jump into the live demonstration. Now, for those that are unfamiliar with Power BI service, I'm going to show how you can get to it online. First, we need to go to a browser, and we need to go to office.com. Now, it may already sign you in, but you may be like me and have to sign in once you get to office.com. All right, now that I'm signed into office.com, if I look in the upper left-hand corner, we'll see the app launcher, also called the waffle icon. We're going to click it. From the app launcher, we see a list of different Microsoft applications that we can access. Now, if you do not see Power BI in your list, that is perfectly fine. Just go down to where it says all apps and it'll show you the list. If you have not accessed Power BI service before, I don't believe it will show in the list, or it will show in this initial list here. So just come to all apps, and then it's in alphabetical order. So we just scroll down till we find Power BI and click it. So here's the Power BI service homepage. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, we have the option to start a new report, which we will do later on today. And then right next to that, we have a little button. This is for page layout. Now, the default is always simplified, but for today, we want to expand it. When you expand it, you'll see that it's going to change the view. So we can see these are some of the frequented reports that I go to and dashboards. If I scroll down, you can see some of my reports that I have and data sets. And then at the very bottom, we have a section called Get Started with Power BI. We actually have little videos. So if you ever want to, you can always come here to the Power BI Basics and just watch some of the little videos or read the documents that they have. We also have sample reports. So these are reports that we can kind of play around with so that way we can get used to Power BI. And that's what we're going to do. Because before we can create our own report, we need to figure out, how does a report run? How does it look? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at this opportunity analysis sample. I'm going to click on it and it's going to open up the report for us. I'm going to zoom out because we're kind of zoomed in a little bit. There we go. So here is our report. You can see it shows us our total opportunity revenue, how many we had for opportunity count, and even the different regions. You can see we have the pipeline by stage, revenue and opportunity by month, and you can even see in the colored map which regions are all included. Now, the one thing that I love about Power BI is it's interactive. So if I come over here to opportunity count by region and I select the East Coast, it's going to adjust the rest of the charts. It's going to filter it. So now I'm just seeing the data for the East Coast. I can see exactly how much revenue they made and their opportunity count. I can see how many were leads, qualified solutions, and even how much they made each month. So you can see they made a lot during September. They made most of it in September, but not so much in December. They made a good amount, but not most of it. Now, if I jump over to, like, say, West, now we can see all of the West Coast and see they only had 87 opportunity counts. Now, if there's any of these charts that I don't quite like, I can change them. So right here where we have the pipeline by stage, as I hover over this visualization, you'll notice I get some different options. So I could copy this visual as an image if I wanted to, but we have personalized this visual. When I click on that, it allows me to change the visualization type. So I can change it from a stacked bar chart to something else. Maybe I want to do a funnel. There we go. Now I have a funnel. I like the funnel because I like being able to see the actual numbers. So now it makes it easy for me to see, okay, the East Coast had, 101 opportunities versus the West Coast that only had 47 and only 15 will qualify versus the East that had 50. Now, if we look over to our revenue and opportunity count by month, you'll see how it slowly goes up and then drops. Well, one cool thing about Power BI is we can ask it to try and analyze and figure out why there was a decrease. So if I right click on July, because it went down from June to July, you'll have this analyze option. And from here, we can ask Power BI to explain the decrease. It's going to be looking through all the data, and it's going to try and find out the reason why for this decrease. It lets us know at the very top that there is a 61.19% decrease in revenue between June and July. We can see revenue by month and state. So we can see that we had a drop from some of these other states. So like North Carolina had a big drop, so did Kansas, Pennsylvania, and New York. But if I scroll down, I'll see other charts. So this is revenue by month and partner, or month and partner driven. So we can kind of come through here and try and figure out why we had such a drop. Now, to get out of this pop-up, you just have to click somewhere off of it and it disappears. We can also use this to figure out an increase. So if we want to know the increase from November to December, we can ask Power BI to explain the increase. So you can see maybe the increase was based off of the product type. You can see what was sold, or opportunity count, or even by partner, to try and help explain that huge increase. Right underneath that, we have our region, our revenue by region and state. Now, the one thing that I think is pretty cool is it does show you exactly what states are all part of the East Coast. But I want to show you something cool that we can do. If we right-click on either East, Central, or West, you'll get an option. You can do what's called drill down. And what that does is it's going to break it down. So instead of just being the East Coast, now it's each state in the East Coast. So now I can look at how much New York made. I can now look and see specifically New York had 51 opportunity count. They had 24 leads. And I can see how much New York made each month versus, let's say, Virginia. You can see there were some months that I don't even think had any in October. So we can really come through here and see each state and see where they did good, where they didn't do well. So you can see here, Georgia, they did poorly in July, and I think they did about the same amount each month. Now, let's say I want to save this view right here, this view of Georgia. Let's say I'm going to be doing a presentation and I'm talking to the group that work down in Georgia. I'm going to show them their stats. Well, instead of having to come through and put in all the filters to be able to show them their numbers, such as opportunity count, I can actually bookmark this. In the very upper right-hand corner, you'll see we have some icons. The one that looks like a flag is for bookmarks. Now you'll see I already have some bookmarks, but I can add on another bookmark. So maybe this one I want to type in as Georgia and hit enter. Now I have the Georgia bookmark. Now from the three dots, the ellipsis, I can always update it. So if the data table was updated, I can make sure to update it. Or I can always rename this or delete it. So maybe, let's say this one, I want to delete since I don't need it anymore. And now I can just actually click in between my different bookmarks. So now we can see, okay, here's New York. Let's look at New York versus Wisconsin versus Georgia. Makes it very easy to be able to just click back and forth between them. Now, if I ever want to remove the filters that I've put on my report, right next to the bookmark, we have this little reverse arrow, and it's going to remove all of the filters that we put in. So all of those filters are gone. It even reverted the original visualization here for pipeline, it reverted it back to what it originally was. Now, whenever you have a report, depending on how somebody has sent it to you, depends on if you will have this edit button here at the top. You may not have that option, and that's perfectly fine. That just means that whoever shared this report shared it so that you cannot make changes or edits to that. Only they can. If you would like, you can also share this with others. So you'll see we have the option to share this into a Teams chat, or we can share it with others in an email. So you'll see we have send link. It says people in your organization with the link can view and share. If we click that, you'll see it gives us some different options. So maybe only specific people we want to be able to access this. So maybe I just want to share this with Annie. There we go. See, here is the report I was telling you about. Now I can send this as an email. I can have it as a clickable link that I could share in a Teams chat with her. I could share this straight to Teams or insert this as a photo in PowerPoint. But I'm just going to send it as an email to her. So now she is able to view this chart as well. But because of the restrictions I put on, she cannot, that link that I sent her will not work for others. So this is a Power BI, and this is kind of what it looks like when you're playing around with it. So now that we have a good idea of Power BI and what they look like and all that you can do within it, let's go back to the Power BI home and start our own Power BI report. So in the upper left-hand corner, we have the Home tab. That's where we're going to go. And then that yellow plus the new report button, that's what we're going to click because we're creating a new report. Now we have some options. We can paste or manually enter in data or pick a published data set. For the ease of myself, I'm going to pick a published data set. This one. And you'll see you might get this option every once in a while to have it auto create a report for you or create a blank report. We're going to start off with blank. So this is what a blank report looks like right now. We haven't added on any visualizations or charts. If we look to the right, you'll see we have filters. I always just minimize this. You can minimize them or expand them. You can do this for all of the sections. We have visualizations here. These are the different types of charts that you can add into your report. And then next we have our fields. Now you can expand the fields so that you can view each of them. The fields are brought from the from wherever your data is. So whether it's an Excel sheet or an on data premise, wherever you want to get it from, that's where it's getting all this information. Now you'll notice we also have a search bar at the very top. So this will allow us to actually search for any of the fields that we're looking for, which is going to make it very helpful considering I have a lot of different fields. So first things first, we need to add on some visuals. Now, the way that I like to go about adding in visuals is I think of a question that I want to basically ask my data. So maybe I want to know which locations had the most opportunities. So the opportunity count by location. Now I have two options. I can choose the visualization first and then choose the fields, or I can choose the fields first and then the visualization. Either way, it doesn't matter. You can do it either way. So I'm going to start off with the fields. So let's start with let's see, we don't have location. We have state. And now let's do, we have average opportunity. Let's see if that adds anything. There we go. Now you'll see that it shows a visualization for us, the map. I can change it to a different one if I would like. Now, for this map, I can actually move it around. So I can actually drag this visualization somewhere else if I would like, and I can even change the size of it. So if I can get my cursor right, there we go. Make it just a little bit larger. Now, for all of your visualizations, you have the option, you can change the format of it. So where we have our list of visualizations, you have this option to make adjustments to it. So for the map, for example, I can change the map style. And I can even choose like the color of the bubbles. I can change it from the default blue to bright pink if I want. Now, whenever you're ready to create a new visual, make sure to click off of your previous visual that you were working on, because that is a very common mistake that I make. I'll choose a visual and accidentally change my previous visualization instead of creating a whole new one. So now we have our chart, or our map. Now let's add on another visualization or another chart. So we can see now which locations had the most average opportunity count. We can see like Florida had basically none. Now let's look at the revenue by quarter. Let's see revenue by quarter, and let's base it off of the closeout date. Now for this one, I already have an idea of what kind of chart I want. So I'm going to choose my chart. I want a waterfall, and I'll keep it here for right now. Let's search for the fields. I want to look up revenue. Now let's look up quarter. And let us look at the estimated closeout date. There we go. So now we have our nice visualization. Now the cool thing is that with this one, you'll see in our right underneath our visualizations where it says category, it actually shows us the breakdown. So it'll go from quarter down to month. So if I decide to go over to my visualization, and you'll see how we have these different options, you can click to drill down or drill down to the next level. So you'll see we went from year to month, or from year to quarter down to month. And I could even go down to day. So if I wanted to showcase how much each day or each month of the year, I could keep it here. But I want to go back up to each quarter because that's going to make it a little bit easier. Once again, I can customize this visualization if I would like. There we go. There we go. Now let's look at putting on another visualization for our report. Now, maybe I'm curious. I want to know how well the products did each month. So we know how much we made each quarter and by each state, but Is there a trend between our products in like each month? Is one more popular in the summer versus the winter? Well, we can kind of figure that out. I'm going to choose matrix for this one. And then for the fields, let's bring out, I always like to think of the keywords in my question. So I want to know the revenue, for each product. Oh, if I can spell. We will do product code. And then we will do type in month. There we go. Now, you'll see how this is laid out. Maybe I don't like this layout. I don't like how our rows and columns are laid out. I can actually change this. So you can actually drag and drop your fields here. So where it says rows, maybe I want to drag date down to columns. So now the columns are each date. Maybe I want to add the option for quarter as well. So now we could just see the quarter for each one, or drill down to each month. We can also change it and have the dates as the rows and products as column, if we like it that way. Get a little bit shorter. There we go. So now I can easily see that, hey, like this item, it does all right in, it looks like May and June, but then we have a long gap when it's not really popular. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I clicked on the product, it actually made changes to our average opportunity days by state and revenue by each quarter. So you can see how much revenue it made. So I can see it sold a lot in Texas compared to this product. This one did not sell as well in Texas, but it sold pretty well in like Florida. All right, so we have that. Now, we can still add more onto this. If we look at the very top, we have some different options on what we can do to our Power BI. So one of the first options we have is ask a question. This is how you can get your Q&A. Now, Q&A, you see it just pops in here, and you can ask a question about your data. So maybe I want to do, let's do sales by, I could do sales, oh, you'll see here, sales by state, and I can see that. We also have suggested options as well. Now for Q&A, you can actually get it from the top where it says ask a question, but it is also a visual. So it's in the last row, it's the word bubble, that is your Q&A. Like that here. At the top, you also have the option for text box. Now, text box is a great way to kind of add a title onto your report. So let's put on here, let's do Power BI service. Let's do 12 September 2022. There we go. Now, this text is very small for a title, so I need to change this. You'll see I can change the size. The default is 10, but I'm going to change it size 20. That's a little bit better. I'll do, yeah, that's better. All right. I can change the color of the text. Select it. Change the colors. I can keep it black, or I might make it a little bit more festive. Maybe I'll do the dark pink just because. And I can even change the text if I want. There we go. Now I have that. You'll see I also, under format, I have some options for like effect. So I can change the color background. I can change it to a light pink and add some transparency behind it if I want to. Next to text box at the top, we have shapes. So if you need to add in just a normal shape like a rectangle, oval, triangle, or line or arrow, you can do so. And then we have buttons. I actually really like the buttons because you can add on a Q&A button to have the Q&A pop up for people if you don't already have it part of your report. But I always like to add on the help button. For some reason, they always show up in the upper left-hand corner, so we just have to drag it over here. I'll put it over here. They can access it. I can always put on another button. There we go. Now you also can refresh this page. What refreshing is going to do is if any of the data has been updated, it will update all of your visualizations. You also can duplicate this page, or you can come here to save. We also have an ellipsis, which is where you can actually analyze this report in Excel if you want to. Now, there are a few more options within visualizations that I want to show you. If we look at the bottom row, right next to Q&A, we have Smart Narrative. Smart Narrative is actually going to look at the report, all of the data, and it's going to give us a nice overview of the data. So here, if I expand this out, you can see it tells us at Wisconsin, they had the highest average opportunity days and was 14.83% higher than Florida. Now, once again, I can actually make edits to this text, so I can keep it kind of small if I want to, or make them a little bit larger. This a little bit larger as well. And maybe I'll change the font on this. As well as that one. And you'll see we also have an ellipsis in our visualizations. So that way we can actually add on. You'll see we have a few more visuals. You can get more visuals or import a visual from a file if you need to. Now, here for our report, I think this is pretty good. Maybe I just want to come through here and make some changes. There we go. Make sure everything matches color-wise. Go. I'm just making random changes. And I can even do that for the Q&A, which I like. That up. There we go. So now we have our report. Now, before we save this or anything, I want us to look in the upper left-hand corner. So one thing that you may or may not have noticed is mobile layout. Mobile layout is going to let us decide how we want this report to be laid out when somebody's viewing it from a phone. Whether it's iOS or Android, we want to be able to decide how it's laid out. And not all of you can decide if you don't want a certain visualization to be on the mobile layout. So I'm going to pull over. I have my little like title page. I get to pull it over and I can decide how large I want it to be. Maybe I want this to come over next. And I can decide if I want to like move this up. I want to. I can move it up a little bit. I can actually scroll down on this little virtual phone, which I think is pretty nifty. But now let's add on, maybe I want my nice chart. That down. Maybe I'll have this right below it. And then maybe I'll end it with my Q&A. Maybe I don't want to put on that other visual just because it's going to take up too much room and it really would not work having it on a phone. Maybe I'll do my question button at the end. And my do button or reset filters. Now you'll see you actually can still make changes. So like for the icons, for example, I can come through here and I can change what I want about it. So if I wanted to change like the fill color, I could change that. Or the line color, maybe I want to make it dark, yeah, that purpley. I can do that to those as well. So you can still come through here and make any changes that you see fit. Once you are done with your mobile layout, you'll see at the top where it used to say mobile layout and now says web layout. And that is what you are going to click to get back to your online view, how people would view it. Now we also have reading view. To access reading view, you have to save your report first. So let's go ahead and save that. I'm going to save it as today's date. Now, you get to decide where you want to save it at. So maybe I want to save this on my sales and marketing workplace. There we go, saved it. Now I can go to reading view. I did not want to save. Try the other one. All right, I don't know why it's not wanting to save for me, but typically you should not have any problems saving like I am. I cannot spell today. There we go. So now it's going to work. Now it's just going to take a moment to save everything, save our web layout and our mobile layout as well. Now, once you have saved your report, you can share it out with others, and you can choose how you want to share it out. So you can decide if you want others to be able to make changes or edits to it, or maybe you just want to show them it. Maybe it's in the final form. But if you're working with somebody else, say Annie and I are both working on this opportunity report, Power BI, I could share this with her, letting her make changes. So that way, if she wants to make changes to any of the charts, maybe add on a visual, she could do so. Not sure why it froze on me, but I'm hoping it unfreezes here soon. I'm afraid if I refresh it, it's going to remove everything. See if I can open up the home in a different tab. This one. Okay, this is a separate report that I created. So this is how it looks when it's in the read mode. You can come through here and kind of see what the report is, and you'll have the option to share it out with others, or even share it straight into a Teams chat. I can also make edits to it. So if I need to make changes to my report, I can. So I can come through here and see, hey, this, I need to, maybe I need to remove something. I can just decide on that. I can make whatever changes I need to. Yeah. I can add whatever I want to. And then go to File and Save. So now if I go into reading mode, this is how others would view it. So that's how you can interact with a report that somebody has shared with you, or create a report yourself and share it out with others and decide how they can or cannot interact with your report. Now, I did want to have time at the end for any Q&A that you all may have for me. Please feel free to post any questions into the Q&A at this point.
While we are waiting for questions to come in, I do want to call your attention to the Q&A. I've dropped a customer survey. We'd love your feedback on today's session. We are looking for 9s and 10s, so if you thought Kim did a really great job with her presentation, please let us know in that survey. There's also some continued learning resources, so if you want to continue on your Power BI journey, both of the links for continued learning resources are really great places to start. The docs will take you to a website where you can learn more about Power BI, and the other site is a landing for the entire Power Platform if you wanted to learn more about just any of the Power Platform offerings. So do take a look at those links, and please take a moment to fill out the survey. One last call for questions. If you had any before we get going for the day, we'll give it about another minute while we're still in today's meeting. So if you do have any questions, now would be the time to submit them. With that, I'm not seeing any new questions, and I do see the attendee numbers dropping off. We do want to thank you again for joining us today for this presentation on Power BI service. We hope you learned something new, and we will see you at the next training session. Thank you and have a great afternoon.
Hi, everyone.